Welcome everyone to today's Tableau user group session. I'm really excited about today's event, joined by my co-leaders, Jesse and Mohammed, and welcoming our newest co-leader, Elisa Davis, who is also our featured presenter. If you want to say a quick hello.
Hi, everybody. I thought I was just signing up to give a talk and I got recruited to leadership, which is, I'm thrilled to be part of the team. It's such a great group of people. And I think that there's so much to highlight and feature in terms of the use of advancement for Tableau. I'm really excited to showcase all of the cool stuff that all of you are doing. And thanks for tuning in. I hope what we have to talk about today will be fun and helpful.
Awesome. We're delighted to have you. And also Kelly is joining us from Caltech. She was the winner of our last Tableau user group competition for an incredibly clever and adorable dashboard for to unveil who the random winner of the raffle is. All right, so before we get started, we did ask you for your feedback on how often you wanted the sessions to occur. So I'm going to pull up Tableau here and we'll pull this in and just see what the results were. So this is how often people want Tableau user group events to occur. So we have the results here. Annual, biannual, don't know, every other month, monthly, and quarterly. Let's see what the results are. We have quarterly as number one. All right, followed by monthly. Let's do percent of total. So most people said quarterly, and then we have 28% at monthly. So not an insignificant number. That makes me really happy, actually. More people want it more often. And then we have biannual, don't know. We have some first-time users here, which is really exciting. Welcome all those who have returned, as well as those who are joining us for the first time. This is such an extraordinary group. We're well over 800 people in this group already, and this is only our third session. So this is absolutely amazing. What Lisa was saying about people's involvement and showcasing their incredible work, the advancement use case is incredibly powerful for Tableau. We have don't know and annual. All right, so I am going to color code this and using the Valentine's Day themed color palette. And you may be wondering about that color palette, like where did that come from? We have that here. It's the Valentine's Day option. And for our first raffle day, our raffle question is, what is the name? This is for a $50 gift card to the Tableau store. The first person to message me directly will win, and it's a two-part question. So what is the name of the configuration file you use to set your custom colors, and what is the name of that code that you use, the number and the letters and the colors? So please text me that, and I will, so make sure you send it to me directly. And this is the configuration file you use, and then I'll show you the results later and the name of those codes. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Elisa, and I'll let you take it away. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Ron. Let me grab my screen share. And that should work for everything. So as Ron mentioned, my name is Elisa Davis. I am currently the Prospect Development Manager at Climate Reality Project, which is a DC-based nonprofit. Our mission is to try to spread the word that climate change is real and stoppable. So that's a pretty fun mission. I've been in this job since the beginning of December, so there's been a lot of new stuff, but one of the things that I'm excited about continuing is my work with Tableau. My focus for the talk today is really going to be all about how you can take your data and build cool, fancy looking dashboards yourself. Because it was really not that long ago, back in 2018, when I had the first experience of opening Tableau Desktop on my work computer. I looked at it and I was like, whoa, this seems like a really powerful tool. And like, I don't even know where to put the key in the ignition. So thankfully, I've had the opportunity to do some trainings, learn some tips and tricks along the way. And I assume that you're really here because like you want to learn how to cook up cool data projects too. And I'm going to absolutely beat this cooking metaphor into the ground because I feel like opening up Tableau on your own is like, I don't know, looking through the Cook's Illustrated compendium of like all of the best ways to do absolutely everything. And you're like cooking a pot roast at 200 degrees for 7 days and then braising it with liquid. And I'm like, no. We're going to start you with the meal kit. So my goal is that today we got a meal kit for you and you'll be able to cook at least one dashboard yourself with the data that you have. I was inspired. So when I was pitching this talk to the advancement folks, they said, well, do you have anything that you've already made that you want to showcase? So this is the dashboard that I made for the APRA Data Science Now Challenge in the fall. And I will give the caveat that I was in the middle of a job search. I was in, the last researcher standing in my previous job, and also the sole Tableau developer, data analyst. And I was like, oh, I don't have time to enter a competition. Being involved in community projects is a big hassle. And then I was like, no. Because one of the things that's gotten in the way of being able to share work and best practices in our field is the fact that we have so much confidentiality around our donors. And there's not a lot of public data sets out there that let you build mock-ups so that you can say like, hey, I've got something like this. How do you think about this particular use case? Which is, again, why I'm so excited to be part of the Advancement Tableau user group, because I'm going to get to see all of the cool stuff that you're doing and brag about it to other people. And, like the Superstore is kind of helpful for us, but not really. Advancement is kind of like sales, but not really. And so like, we don't care how profitable the tables are. So I just loved having the opportunity to do what I could in the time that I had with the data set that the APRA folks put together for us. It's all linked from this dashboard. So like, please, if you're excited and you want to play around and take another take on this data, I would love to see what everybody else comes up with. But then I also realized that I wanted to build out a Tableau public portfolio. So starting last fall, I joined the Millennials and Data cohort. And I know that shout out to some of my colleagues from that group who are here as well. And so I was 2 weeks into that program when I put this dashboard together. And at the end of the program, putting together this talk, I was like, I've learned a lot. I'm going to take another spin on it. So if you were expecting me to be talking about the green version of this dashboard, I'm not. I'm going to teach you guys how to make this orange one. It is the exact same use case, which if you're not familiar with the competition, the scenario, at least as I interpreted it, was you are the researcher and the analyst. You've just gotten a screening back. So you have a lot of information about gift officers and portfolios. You have a whole new set of ratings, and we need to figure out who should go in which portfolios. And I was like, you know what? We need to, what's the word? We need to see and understand this data. So I built this, which is very similar to a dashboard that I developed at UNR. to do exactly that. So, which brings us to the next slide, which is thinking, when you start thinking, developing dashboards, you need to think about who's your audience and what are their questions. So in this case, I'm starting down here with myself, the researcher / analyst. Maybe those are different roles where you are. If so, great. So whatever this dashboard is, it has to work for me. Ideally, since again, I've always been in a small shop when it comes to analytics, and I suspect that a lot of you are as well, it needs to work for a lot of other people as well. So the fundraiser is ideally going to use this day to day to get visibility on their portfolio. The team leader, AKA the fundraiser's bosses, is going to want to be able to both check on their fundraisers and see more of an aggregate view. The executives are going to care mostly about how many prospects do we have, at what level, and where. You might use this as well for a jumping off point in terms of how much do we need for the travel budgets, all of that kind of good stuff. And this version is published to Tableau Web. And if we have time at the end of the presentation, we can really talk through some of the use cases, and of course it refreshes, highlight some of how you might answer those questions. So, just to do one or two real quick, say you're coming into a capital campaign and somebody's like, how many prospects let's raise $1 billion, because that seems like a very popular number these days. And you're like, you can very quickly come through here and say, I don't know about 1 billion, you guys. I don't know about 1 billion. Let's actually look at the data. And then when it loads, you'll see that we've got 14,000 prospects, give or take, in this group. And 62 of them have estimated gift capacity in the 1 million plus range. So we would dig into that and see, where are we at with that $1 billion, and do some pyramid math. But this would be a great conversation tool, just getting started with that executive, going to their boss, negotiating that conversation. And this is the view, I think conveniently the view that you want as a researcher and as an executive overlap quite a bit, because we also want to have a comprehensive understanding of the prospect pool and how many people we need and whether or not the good ones are assigned. So speaking of that, I've built a lot of functionality into this dashboard with filters. So if you just wanted to see the prospects, you would adjust to show only unassigned folks. And there they are. And so you can see that these are the people that you're wanting to get into portfolios, and really quickly, you can just grab those top few. And so we really want to focus on California and Texas for this pool, maybe backing up in New York. There are 37 folks in New York. A bunch of them are right in the city. Haha. And we've got a Vision tooltip there to show who is already working in that area and what the pool of prospects is. So here it is as a kind of discovery tool. The gift officers are going to say, just click a filter. We've got an entirely different use case going on here. It looks like Mamoon is a regional officer in the Southeast, which, these are pretend people and pretend portfolios, but one click and we've got a pretty good idea of what their workflow looks like. A bunch of people in Georgia, especially in Atlanta, a couple other folks who go to Atlanta as well. And the cool part here is that you can see both that Mamoon's got a bunch of recent activity with folks, a handful of people who have fallen off a little bit. Assignment maturity maps to portfolio stage most places. There wasn't a field for this in this data set, so I had to invent it. So it's going to track very closely with number of contacts. I think I assigned 0 to 1 contacts to discovery, 1 to 6 to early cultivation, and more than that to mature cultivation. But you're going to have some sort of field that does that where you are. And then with the show hide details, which is so much easier to do in Tableau than it used to be when I started, you know, your development director is probably going to be the person who's in here the most. They want to look at every single individual name because they're thinking about the relationships. Like, these names are data to me, but they are conversations and friendships and, you know, like coffees and lunches to the development directors. So they're going to want to be able to look through all of these names individually. And you can drill all the way down to, in the tooltip, I like to put, if you can grab it, the most recent email or meeting notes, because they're going to be like, oh, you know, Damien, where was I with Damien? I sent him an email. Did he ever email back? If they can hover over this icon over here to pull up the tooltip and answer that question, then they're ready to get going. And they would be able to, all of these are dummy links because, again, these are pretend people, but you can set it up so that if you have a web-based system, you can go straight to the constituent record. If you don't have a web-based system, you can still grab the email field and pop it out so that the development directors can click to reinitiate contact. And in the versions of our world where we actually travel without feeling stressed out about that, you might need to map their address or, pull up the map so that you can suggest a coffee shop in their location. So that's how a development director might use it. Who are your audience? What are their questions? And for me, how can you make one tool do absolutely as much as possible? Because you're the one who's going to have to answer all those questions, and you're the one who's going to have to check any upgrades. So this looks super complicated and fancy. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's very approachable to you. If so, kudos. I would have previously found this overwhelming. So drilling it way back, my favorite mockup tool is a pen and paper. You can do it with all sorts of fancy things like using placeholder images in Tableau. You could learn how to use Figma. You could use whatever your design tool of choice is. I like a notebook. So this is the exact same wireframe as the dashboard we were just looking at. But this is what it would look like if you stripped it all the way down. So we've got 7 pieces going on in this dashboard. The total, you'll sometimes refer to these as bands, which are big aggregate numbers. It's a great place to put your KPIs or your key performance indicators. It's just usually like the bottom line of how many are there of whatever we're talking about. In this case, prospects. This bar chart here doubles as your color code. We've got a map for anything that has a geospatial component, where my prospects does. Although I'm pretty rusty on maps since nobody's gone anywhere for the past few years. And then 3 stacked bar charts. You only see 2 of them here, but that's because one of them is hidden in the map and the Vision tooltip that I showed you guys. And then the details text table. So we've got 7 pieces to make. You don't need all that much data either. So here I've got a breakdown. For the total, you need something to count. There's a lot of different ways to do this. There's a count built into Tableau, and that works really well if you have a flat data file that's 1-to-1 on whatever it is that you're trying to add up. I didn't have this at UNR because people could be assigned to multiple gift officers. So, and you have to think about whether you want to count households or individuals. So there's a lot of deciding in data exploration. If you can count rows, great. If you have a flat Excel file and it's one gift officer's portfolio, counting rows is probably enough. Otherwise, you want to grab some sort of unique ID somewhere across the system and count it if you can. If it looks like it's too high, you might need to count distinct, but that really slows things down when it comes to dashboard processing. So I would say, like, find what you can, and that's your order of priority. The bar chart at the top there is whatever your key sorting metric is. And this is going to be different everywhere depending on where you're at, what kind of stats you've bought, what your gift officers trust the most, what your leadership is most interested in emphasizing. So take a guess at it, get sign off on it, and then use that to absolutely, like, brainwash is the wrong term, but it really needs to influence all of your dashboards. Like if you were like, God, if only my gift officers believed me that prospects with a high major gift likelihood are more likely to make a gift, I wonder how that would change everything. Then maybe that's taking major gift likelihood and making it your driver. You use that bar chart and skipping down here to brand colors. Stick with the brand colors of your institution. Just grab them. There's going to be an explainer somewhere with the actual hex codes, or there's a lot of color pickers. Tableau can grab colors straight off the screen. Take the boldest one and make it your accent color, and just dial down the brightness and find some shades that work together, and pop the logo in your dashboard as well. So these stacked bar charts will be color coded by your main thing. Map, all you really need is city and state, and then details text table. My experience is your users are going to tell you what details they want. So take your best guess at it and then absolutely get feedback. For example, mine needed city and state to be separate from each other. I'd cram them together for space, and they said, nope, we need them separate because we sort by that field. So once you've collected all of your ingredients, the different data fields, you'll get cooking. So this is kind of like leaning heavily on my Blue Apron metaphor. This is chopping all your vegetables before you get going. And I've got a walkthrough. We might end up a little bit short on time, but I've built a workbook that walks you through re-engineering this data set, or this dashboard. And this is also going to be available on my profile page on Tableau Public. So we'll just do what we can, and somebody interrupt me when we get to time. So like I said, I've hidden a lot of fields that we don't need for this dashboard. So you'll take assigned to text. Actually, I usually just drop it in here. Click the text card, click ... Find the label screen and drag it into your share field. Increase the text size, and in smaller text underneath, add prospects. I didn't know what happened when you double clicked those dots until I had been using Tableau for about 3 years, and it was revolutionary because it's really helpful to tell people both that this number is important by the size of it, but also what it means by the prospects. Click OK, that bit's done. Great. Prospects by capacity. We're going to take capacity to rows and assigned to columns. Beautiful, but this is way too many groups. So using the grouping function in Tableau for time, I'm going to skip how you make a new group. But you boil it down to a handful of categories and then color code them. Hide the axis. And put them in order. Big fish at the top. Boom. We've got a color-coded bar chart that's sorted in a custom sort order. Now, I took your last contacted because, again, thinking about my gift officers, I want them to know who they need to keep up with and who they need to catch up with. So taking last contact, sort descending, and there's a bunch of ways to do everything in Tableau. So sort, descending. And that's doing it that way means that when you add 2022 data, you don't have to go back in there and redo the manual sort. So to columns, you're like, what's going on here? Switch it to bar. And then taking capacity to filter, you have to do it in the opposite order. I like having the darker colors at the bottom because it kind of makes this a running total from a visual perspective. If you wanted to know, like, for example, there are more prospects who haven't been contacted in the up to medium orange range than have been contacted in the prior year. So maybe this is a case for adding more staffing. Hide the axis. Maps are their own thing. I'm not going to build the full map, but if you drop state on the view, you can very quickly, let's see, take assigned to color. It makes you this beautiful blue palette. Tell it no, thank you. And this is different on a Mac and on a PC. Over here on a Mac, we find the hex code 6F6F71. Okay. And it makes it a custom sequential. So states with more people are going to be darker. You set the map to whatever you want it. Then you switch back to the lasso. And I turned off a whole bunch of extra map layers, which there's a lot of great tutorials on how to adjust your maps. And going even faster, you build a details field. The main thing here is that there are a few fields when you drop them in, it's going to want to turn them green, like last contact. It would really like to report on as a continuous field, and you're going to need to click on it and switch it back to discrete. There's a whole lot of great stuff out there about the difference between a discrete and a continuous field. If you're confused about why that's happening, absolutely Google around, check it out, or hop on Twitter and tweet at somebody. There's lots of awesome data folks on Twitter. And then we are at time, so I don't have time to show the whole thing, but all you would do when you were walking through this, download the workbook, reverse engineer it, is you're going to take stuff in, X stuff out, hide the title, and it's going to be pretty easy for you to understand how all of these things work together.
This is wonderful, Lisa. I love, a lot of things that I love about this dashboard, the how clean it is and how balanced. And also you hit on a couple of things such as designing things for multiple audiences, as opposed to having 5 different dashboards. You think of having one simple dashboards with multiple personas. Also really like the smart tooltips as well. Very fundraiser friendly. Wonderful job. I think just a real quick question, the data set. Would you mind just typing that up? We have a couple of questions in the Q&A. I think we just have a couple of things out there if you want to take a look. And we do have a winner for the raffle. We had a number of people who had the answer. The fastest was impressively fast. Jessica Van Els at Michigan State University. Congratulations. You are winner of the $50 gift card. I am going to give you the answer real quick. It is to set your own custom palettes. If you go under Documents, My Tableau repository, there is this preferences file. You open it up, and very easily, you can just copy and paste. This is available on the help. You have just the name of it, and this is called the hex code or hexadecimal, which is also something that Elisa said. Really easy, especially when you have brand colors that you need to use. So that is your answer. That will save you time.
That
All
is an
right.
awesome tip, and I didn't know it.
Oh, good. I mean, that's what I love about Tableau. Like literally every week, every day, anytime you're using Tableau, you're learning something new, right?
Mhm.
Like, and you sort of just pick it up along the way, and then take it with you. So I love it that everyone's here to learn. All right, our next presenter, Kelly. Looking forward to seeing the magic behind your dashboard. So please take it away.
All right, let me just share my screen here. Hi, my name is Kelly Douglas. I'm the Associate Director of Prospect Analytics at Caltech, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to create a random winner generator for the challenge. It was fun, and I learned a lot about random numbers and about animations, which I'm happy to share with you today. I'll begin with a quick demo of my dashboard. This will be an example, but stick around to the end of the session because we will be having a real raffle at the end of the session. So we start by getting hyped about the raffle prize, which is a $50 gift card to the Tableau store. So this icon here, the shopping cart, it allows us to click out to the Tableau store and see different prizes that we could redeem with that gift card. So we could look at the drinkware and check out all these cool mugs and tumblers. I'm kind of partial to this H2Go Force one here. That looks pretty neat. We could look at the apparel, check out some t-shirts. You could wear a Data Rockstar shirt so that we can advertise our love of data or be part of the data fam here, or especially relevant today, like the love data with the heart. I love it. So those are all cool things that we could win in this raffle. The next box here, this pick a number between 1 and the number of participants. I'll just go ahead and pick 6 for this example. But then we get to watch the actual raffle take place. So this is where I'll hit the play button and we see our announcer come in, headed for that basket, and the announcer has drawn a name. So I'll go ahead and click on this icon to reveal the winner. And our winner is Sarah W. from the CIA. So no raffle would be complete without a celebration. So next we will throw a party and congratulate the winner. So I'll hit the play button. Congratulations. And that's the dashboard. So this has been in Tableau Reader, but I'll move over to Tableau Desktop to walk through how this process works. So this first shopping cart, this is a dashboard action. They're very simple to put together. We just go to dashboard at the top on the menu and then click on actions. I see that there's one here that I created that's called Go to Tableau Store. And if I edit that, we can see the options here. So it's saying that when I select this workbook, the swag workbook, which is a workbook with that shape, the shopping cart on it, then it takes us to the URL that is here. So these are very easy to do. This next box, this is a parameter. So if I click on edit parameter, we see that this is called pick a number. It's set up to be a float, but it could be an integer just as easily. It goes from saying to pick between 1 and the number of participants. There is an option on here you might try playing around with called the range option. So you could set like a minimum and a max that could potentially like force the person to pick a viable number. This is where things get exciting. We get to move on to, well, let me show you how that number works first. So if I go over to the winner statement, this will take us to the workbook where we have a winner. Let me make sure that I've selected a winner. So we go to the winner statement. We've got Howard this time. And that winner calculation, which is on the filter, if I edit that, I see that what it's doing is it's taking this parameter that we just entered, so that number 6, and is comparing it to the row number. So there are some fields here that aren't displaying right now. If I say show header on the row number, we'll see that Howard's number is number 6, and that's why he's the winner, because that's the number I selected. If I take away that filter, we get the full list of participants. They all happen to be television show characters. So this gives us one level of randomness where I can say that whatever number we've picked in, it has to match the row number of the person. But the thing is, the original spreadsheet's not necessarily in a random order. It could be alphabetical because of how it's pulled into Tableau, or it might be in the order of the original registration list. So I wanted to add another level of randomness to this. Because it turns out, at least from my 2 minutes of internet research, that if you ask people to pick a random number from 1 to 10, they don't entirely pick a random number. It's some numbers are more likely than others. So you're more likely to hear a 3 or a 7. So to kind of get around that, I added another layer of randomness, which is using the random function. So if I look at the random sorter here, this is simply using the random function to pick a number that is between 0 and 1 that will randomly sort this file. The important thing to know about the random function is that it's not actually supported by Tableau. So it is in there, but it does come with a lot of disclaimers. So be careful how you use it. It's been reported to have some inconsistent results, but if in this case, we're simply trying to mix up the order of the file, so it's not a big deal. And we have 2 layers of randomness, so it's probably a safe bet to use here. So put a person again. Now for the exciting animation part, there's a clip from a Hans Rosling TED Talk that I think is really relevant to the way that the animations work in my dashboard. So I'd like to show that clip. Let me get there.
I put fertility rate here, number of children.
Let me preface this by saying that he'll be talking about countries and how life expectancy and family size have changed over time. The software is different than Tableau, but what I'd like you to pay attention to is the animation and how the points move.
Children per woman, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to about 8 children per woman. We have very good data since 1960 about on the size of families in all countries. The error margin is narrow. Here I put life expectancy at birth from 30 years in some countries up to about 70 years. And 1962, there was really a group of countries here that was industrialized countries, and they had small families and long lives. And these were the developing countries. They had large families and they had relatively short lives. Now, what has happened since 1962? We want to see the change. Are the students right? It's still 2 types of countries? Or have these developing countries got smaller families and they live here? Or have they got longer lives and live up there? Let's see. We start the world. And this is all UN statistic that has been available. Here we go. Can you see there? It's China. They're moving against better health. They're improving there. All the green Latin American countries, they are moving towards smaller families. The yellow ones here are the Arabic countries, and they get larger families, but longer lives, but not larger families. The Africans are the green down here. They still remain here. This is India. Indonesia is moving on pretty fast. And in the 80s here, you have Bangladesh still among the African countries there. But now Bangladesh, it's a miracle that happens in the 80s. The imams start to promote family planning, and they move up into that corner. And in 90s, we have the terrible HIV epidemic that takes down the life expectancy of the African countries, and all the rest of the world moves up into the corner where we have long lives and small family, and we have a completely new world.
So what we have in this video is a set of points, the countries, that move around on a scatter plot over time based on their X and Y coordinates. And that's exactly what's happening in my dashboard animations, except instead of these dots, we have balloons and a dancing stick figure. So I'll show you what I mean. So we're in Tableau desktop here, and I can go to this tab, the Celebrate tab. And initially it doesn't look like a lot's happening here. There's this variable called time, which is on the pages shelf. And the pages shelf is where we can control animations. So you can imagine similar or relating to this video that we saw, a book where each of the pages in the book is a year displaying the scatter plot for that year of like where where the countries were in terms of life expectancy and family size. For the sake of this dashboard, time is just a number, sequential in this Celebrate dashboard or Celebrate workbook here. It goes from 1 to 23. So I see that over here. I can select a time such as 48, which is where something is actually happening. This is a good time because this is when the stick figure dancer first enters the room. And what I'll show you here is that if I go to format, I can bring the grid back in so that we can actually see what's happening behind the scenes. So I'm going to add grid lines. I'm going to make them a little bit darker so that it's easier to see and thicker. The other thing I can do here is go to the X and Y variables and show the header, because that's going to bring the axis back in. So now what we have is a grid where it's going from about 0 to 10 on the x-axis and 0 to 10 or 11 on the y-axis. And I see that at time 48, I have the dancing stick figure coming in with their right foot forward at point x equals 1, y equals 5. And if I increment the time up a little, so now we're at point 50, we see that that stick figure has moved to point 1.5 on the x-axis and 5 on the y-axis. And they've now got their feet together. So it's a different shape that I'm using at 50. 2 units of time later, we've got a similar action, but now they've got their left foot forward. So it's the third shape at 0.25. So the important thing to know here is that like that y-axis label is that coordinate point is going to remain the same for most of this, because we have them walking in on a horizontal, not vertical sort of way. They're walking straight into the room, not up or downhill. But we see that they make it to x equals 5, 5, which is about the middle here. That's when they start their dance moves. And they're going to stay there for a bit. But what we'll see is that when they do the jump, when the figure does the jump, they move up a little bit. So now the y-axis label is higher, that y coordinate. So they went up to 5.3, 5.5. Now they stick the landing back at 5. And then we get a new point here. So this congrats bubble, which comes in at coordinate point 5.58. And that sticks around for a little bit. And then that's going to go away. And now they're heading again toward the right, which means that the x values are increasing while the y value is still staying the same at 5. And I'll show you what this looks like in the data set that's feeding this as well. So if I stop that and head over to the data set, we can see that I have 5 variables here. There's a shape. So like initially at time 48, we had that walking to the right with the right foot forward shape at point x equals 1 and that y value of 5. This purpose value is included in the data set just for myself so that I know like what each of these actions is relating to, but it's not used in the actual dashboard. So it's really these 4 that are controlling it. But we can see they walk in with their right foot forward. Then a couple points later, they've got their feet together in the middle. Then they're walking to the right, but with their left foot forward. So just keep in mind, that's actually like left foot forward. This is middle again. Then they've got that right foot forward. So that creates that illusion of walking as their x values are increasing over time, which is also incrementing forward. If I scroll down a bit, we can see this is where they reach that middle point, 5, 5. They're staying there for a while, so they're not moving, but they are changing shapes. So first they're standing, then they've got their arms up. The figure puts the arms flat. They've got their right arm jiggling, all the arms jiggling, left arms jiggling. Now they've got their legs going, the arms up and down. And then here's where we see that exciting jump. So the shape is now a jump. They're going from, they started at 5 on the y-axis, but now they're getting higher on the screen. So they're at 5.3, then they're at 5.5, and then back down to 5. Before they stop and stand or stick their landing, do a little ta-da move, and then before walking off, they stand and then walk toward the right again, where we see again the x values increasing. So that's how the animation there works. We can see like a similar situation with the announcer. That's the person who came out and actually did the raffle at the start. This is on a different grid, so these points don't relate to the same ones, but it works the same way. They walk in the same way, same sort of step sequence, right foot forward, middle feet together, left foot forward. We saw that little wave, so there's like a point where they stop and they're not moving anymore. So we see them at 2.55 for a while. And then they walk again to the right with that step sequence. This standing and reaching is where they've met the table, where that basket is. And so they're again not moving. They finally reach their destination and they're gonna hang out there for a while. And then the shapes change again to the stick figure picking up the paper, opening the paper, and the empty table is there the whole time at x equals 9, 6.5 is for y. The other thing I'll show you on here is with the balloons, because a lot of things can happen at the same time. So if I'm at point 26, let's go on the time right here. So I've got 8 balloons. They're actually numbered 3 to 10, but this is time 26. And we can see that like at this one period of time, all 8 of these balloons are out. They're along the x-axis, kind of scattered pretty evenly along the x-axis. So they go from like 1 to 8, which makes sense with 8 balloons. And then the y-axis, they're at different heights, staggered, because I don't want them to all fall in like one sheet together. I just want them to kind of move around. Some of them start later than others, some of them start earlier. But we can see that back on the dashboard. So if I switch this time here back to 26, we'll see what we were just looking at in the data. And we can see like the first balloon, it's got an x coordinate of 1.33, or y is 3. And then the second balloon here is about 2.4 at 4. And if I were to increment this a little bit, we see that at 28, they all shift downward. So unlike the stick figure, these ones are moving mostly vertically. So you get a lot of action on the y-axis, whereas with the person, it was mostly the x-axis that was having those changes in distance. But that's how these work. So one other thing to note here is that like with these 2 balloons, the pink one's currently on the top, but there could be situations where you want to layer things differently. And each of these balloons is a shape, and they're all listed here with their various shape. These are those same shape labels that we saw in the data. So we've got the pink balloon here, which happens to be balloon 7. We could put that underneath this yellow balloon, and then we see that the order actually shifted here. So that makes this a little bit different. And then, yeah, we see the other shape icons here as well. A couple of caveats that I would mention that I discovered while working on this. One is that I haven't seen this work well in Tableau server. Part of the reason for that is that these icons, the speeds kind of vary. There's options for like the slowest, medium, and then fastest, but in Tableau server, it only defaults to the medium speed. So there isn't a good way to like make it go a different speed in Tableau server. The way that it updates, it also seems to be a little bit spastic. It was originally my goal to hide these speed icons, but it seems like when you open the dashboard, it always defaults to the medium speed. So you'll need to select the faster speed if you're using a different speed than originally set. One thing you might have noticed here, like when I increment these, it's actually only changing the position on the every other one, on the even ones. And the reason for that is just because I wanted a speed that was kind of in between the fastest and the default medium speed. And so this is a way of slowing it down by having each shape hold its position twice as long. And that allowed me to kind of get more variation in the speed that's used. All right, so I think it is time for our real raffle now. So let's go ahead and move over to the Valentine's version of this raffle. So we have already explored swag on the Tableau site. So I hope you're very excited about being a possible winner here. Does anyone want to put in the chat like a random number maybe between 1 and 245, which is how many participants we had at the registration before? All right, I see 42. So I'm going to go ahead and put 42. Let me see if I can close this chat. All right. So we've got 42. We're going to play the raffle. And a name has been drawn. So moment of truth. Our winner is Joe H. from the University of Wisconsin Foundation. So congratulations, Joe. Here's your party. Congrats. Yay. And happy Valentine's Day, everyone. So this is my contact information if you have any questions about the dashboard. And there's also a link to the YouTube video that we saw today in case you'd like to watch the whole thing or reference the clip. Thank you very much.
That was incredible. I absolutely love that. You know, both you, Kelly, and Elisa, what comes to mind is teaching and inspiring, seeing what others do. It really is exciting, and the Tableau user group is really about all of you. It's for you, by you, and I want to thank our presenters. That was absolutely incredible. Let me share my screen. We have, just to wrap things up, I think we may have some questions. Any questions out there? No? Okay. Okay. Appreciate all the answers. So I want you to save the date, please, for our next advancement tug event. It will be May 27th from 11 to 12. Wonderful Mohammed will be reaching out soon to find new speakers. And remember to please sign up for our LinkedIn group. We've had a lot of people signing up for that. We have really nice conversations that are happening there. There's a great dialogues happening. Don't forget to sign up for the beta versions of Tableau. It gives you access ahead of everyone else, and then more to come soon. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us. Special thanks to co-leaders Mohammed Dasser, Jesse Rader, and new leader Elisa Davis, who is also our presenter, and Kelly Douglas from Caltech. Thanks everyone. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day and see you soon. Thanks. Bye.